Here on the line that begins with the word, a page kuf mem zayin. The line begins with the word biprotis, which is the fifth line from the top.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I was reading it from the beginning of the os yesterday, and I was wanted to just check to make sure I understood like where the different parts of the discussion fit in. Where the different parts of the discussion fit in. We're discussing overall how Hisabus Yesh comes dafka from Makif.
Right.
And this part that he had about that the Rebbe put about the Atzilus to Klolus, and that Atzilus in general is generally a Makiv, and especially Atzilus to Klolus is generally a Makiv, but we also see that it's a Shorish or Makav or Panimi. This the way that it's Shorish or Makav or Panimi. Is this not the influence that we're talking about that causes Sabbath Yesh?
No.
Or this is it?
No, it's not.
It's not it, right? Okay.
No,
Make sure. This contrast.
That is a whole kind of an anomaly. How does Oipnimi come from Oy Makif? So this is what the Rebbe is saying. Nonetheless, even though a Makif is an entirely different phenomenon, the Oipnimi is rooted in the Makif.
But that's a different phenomenon that we're talking about, the Hisabus Yesh.
Chava Yesh, that's at the end of the line.
Okay.
He said the Oipnimi is contained within the Makif. That's not the Hisabus Yesh. Okay, so we're going to the end of the line. The line begins by Protis, 5 lines from the top. So that's as it is in Atzilus the Klolus. Kamekei b'Atzilus haProtius. The similar Indian is the Atzilus haProtius. The Atzilus, the Proti Atzilus, Atzilus that pertains to the 4 worlds of Atzilus B'Yitzi Asiyah, not Atzilus as it is B'Klolus. That is at the beginning of the whole concept of creation. Actually, before the Tzimtzum, but after the Tzimtzum, that has to do with world. This Atzilus B'Protis. Atzilus, we already discussed many times. I just want to bring it back, so to speak, to the surface. The significance of the Atzilus presence is that this brings along into the world, the Hishtalshelus, the Creator Himself. Atzilus means an emanation, which is not a creation, an outside creation, emanation, a direct statement, a direct revelation coming directly from the source, called emanation. Even though it is an emanation, in other words, it has spheres, but it is representative, and in its overall orientation, it is still connected to the source. Not like Bria, that is a separate creation. The same means Atzilus HaProtis. Shehu B'chinas Oyer Pnimi. Atzilus HaProtis, which is the aspect of Oyer Pnimi. Again, Oyer Pnimi means an Oyer that has a predefined function. Not only a predefined function, but its intent is to be imbued internally. Not to stand aloof and remain in its own reality, but to be imbued internally. Like when you explain a seichel, the intent of explaining the seichel is that the listener should take the seichel in his own thought process. He should not just know that you told him the seichel. He should be able to absorb it in himself, in his own understanding. That's what they give the seichel. That's meant pnimi. That he should remember that you explained to him the seichel, and he should have that knowledge that you explained to him the seichel, but he doesn't have it on his own understanding. That's not a real bestowing of seichel. So pnimi means that it is a complete bestowal, and you have it now in dissociation to the source. That's means pnimi. From a pnimi process, the Rebbe explains, could not come his havas hayesh, because a pnimi process remains what it is in the source, what is being given. Pnimi is not broken away from the source. It is what the source is. His havas hayesh means that you have an entity that is totally independent, an entity unto itself. Okay, let's go back inside. The line begins underneath the line of Brotius. Oy pnimi is Rosh Tevas. Shemizel hoyev sheliz is havas hayesh. Where from this Atzilus, because Atzilus is by definition Oy pnimi, thus from this could not come his havas hayesh. Ki mibchinas oy mafkiv dafko. His havas hayesh can only come from the bechina of oy makif. Not that we will understand how oy makif creates the yesh, but what we could understand is that oy makif can allow for the yesh, because oy makif remains aloof. So no matter what the oy makif provides, it remains aloof. Therefore, there could be a yesh that is an independent entity. And then, furthermore, here's the crux of the inyan. Oy pnimi is always representative of its source. It is not an independent entity. Or makiv is something that it really stands on its own, above, over and above. Therefore, Oy Makiv can create the Yadim from Yesh.
To remain on this call, press 1.
Again, contrast to Oy pnimi, which always reflects its source, or makiv.
I mean, let's take. This is a realm that we totally unfamiliar with. Let's take this, translate this in Moshel. Follow this. In a company, you have all kinds of different officers, different ranks, all the way down to the floor manager. The floor manager is a person who assigns particular tasks to various workers. The floor manager is not authorized to give a certain task to a worker and leave him alone completely unsupervised. This is your baby. He's giving you a particular task, and then it remains his responsibility to supervise, make sure that it's done right. Who can give this kind of assignment? You're on your own. It's your baby. You do it with it whatever you want.
Head of the company.
The head of the company. The head of the company is not even involved with what's going on. But he has that kind of a stance, that kind of a power. Okay. Again, we're going. I asked in the beginning, before we got into this, should we go there? And the answer was, why not? We have come to areas that are completely strange to us before, and we, so to speak, swam through it, and we'll do this one also. However, don't be surprised if we are completely at a loss, and we have to reinvent, so to speak, the entire reality. And so here it is. The line begins with Oipnimi, the Rosh Hashanah Oipnim Aleph of Pei. Shemizan Loihoya actually is Havas Hayesh, where from this, the Atzilus Aprotis is Oipnimi. This is in from Atzilus. A world by definition is Oipnimi. Prior to that is Keser, is Oimakif, which does not get involved in the nitty-gritty of world. Atzilus is already a world, a structure that has different places, there's different kelim, chochmah bin das. Chochmah bin das require that they should be in oipnimi. They should be absorbed by chochmah and by bin and by das. And therefore, shemizeh, from that oil, lehoyoev sheli is havas hayesh. It was not possible to bring forth the havas of the yesh, because the oipnimi, this is the point that I'm, because the oipnimi follows through on its creation. Just like in our marshal, the manager does not render a responsibility to the worker. He follows through on it, so it doesn't become an entity in himself. Oipnimi follows through on what it provides. When Bino draws from Chochmah and understands certain things, it is still carrying through of the spirit of the Chochmah. Does not understand things independently. Therefore, it cannot be his Havas HaYesh. Secular studies, secular approach on learning is called, Bayas called chochmah chitzonius. Chochmah chitzonius, external chochmah. What is the influence in the term chochmah chitzonius? Okay, I'd like you to follow this, and this will put things in perspective. Chochmah chitzonius is a chochmah, like all the whole scientific world. It's a chochmah, like 2 times 2 equals to 4. A basic illustration, but this is whatever. Everything else is in the same vein, in the same line. And what is it? Why is it called chochmah chitzonius?
Why is it called chochmah?
That's right. Adarabba, what do you think that that the secular wisdom is wisdom. It's a chochmah. It's a means to understand, to figure things out. It's called a chochmah. But chitzonis. But what chitzonis means, it's a chochmah that draws upon the external observation, rather than on the source and basic reality. It does not draw to understand what is the world about.
So it's not the use of the word chochmah in the real sense. It's not from ayin comes chochmah. It's not.
That's right. No,
okay,
no.
Fine.
It's chochmah chitzonis. Chochmah chitzonis is not real.
And not really chochmah either.
It's not real chochmah, but
based on physicality.
But this is what the world calls chochmah.
Okay.
They go on this study and they become wise men and knowledge and so forth, and it's all chochmah chitzonis.
Mm-hmm.
What's chitzonis mean? Because the whole knowledge is based on the observation of the chitzonis, rather than know what its intent is and what is it, what the spirit behind it. What is it about? According to chochmah chitzonis, light is an energy emanating from a source, and it journeys all the way down to an object, and then it gets obstructed by the object, it gets reverberated from the object, and then when there's a reverberation, strikes back into the eye, and therefore you see. That's chochmah chitzonis. It's not seichel. It's not sight at all. We spoke. I discussed about it many times. But chitzonis, this is the way they explain it. You observe. Is it a lie? No, it's not a lie. But that's not what light is about.
But it still has the name chochmah.
So the term chochmah is because you're engaging your thought process, your intelligence. Although it is not chochmah in the real sense of the word, it's not chochmah that's drawn from the nefesh. But it's chochmah on a practical level. This is why chochmah chitzonis is a very, if I may say so, very dangerous encounter. It says that the Rebbe says in Tanya that Taivis ametame the midas of the nefesh. Taivis metame the midas of the nefesh. Chochmah chitzonis is metame the chabad of the nefesh.
Why would that be? Seemingly it would not even come close.
Because you're engaging your Chabad. You're engaging Chabad. So you're actually retranslating Chabad on the chitzonistic level.
Wait, but again, like we said, you're not really engaging true chochmah. All you're doing is dealing with a realm of empirical derivative thought.
True. That's true. But tumah is enough. A touch of tumah is enough.
Okay.
Let's continue because we haven't even gotten to the point where we were up to yesterday. Okay, we continue on that line. Yes, can only come from yourself from a makyab. Similarly, the chayes of all the worlds and all the creatures. The ikar, the core, the center part of chayes of all the worlds is from the bechina of Eirasei. As it says in Tanya. And this is a quote directly from Tanya. That Hashem's knowledge, the fact that Hashem knows the world, Hagashmi, this physical earth, this is the Chayus, Kol Evei HaKadur Kulei. This is the Chayus of the entire earth, Kadur, earth circle. And it's coming forth from nothingness into yesh. This is Hashem's knowledge is what gives it the presence. Not knowledge is a makifin. What in fact gives the earth the possibility of being such an entity? It is a makif element that the REBBE knows it. Since the REBBE knows it, therefore it has, so to speak, a right of being. This is its license for being. But then, this knowledge does not transform it into a godly presence. It is still just a physical worldly presence. This is the makif is what creates the yesh.
Makif dafka because it allows it to stay so separate from it.
Because it provides for the possibility of there being something which is not drawing the makif with it. We spoke about this a lot lately, just one nekuda. We have this physical world. And it is, so to speak, a real presence. You can touch it, you can move it around, you can change it, you can do anything you want with it. And it remains what it is. Without really recognizing and realizing it. That which provides, that which gives us a sense that the physical entity is really a presence, is the place that it occupies. The fact that it is given the right of being.
What? One more time. The fact that something is real to us is because it occupies space?
Right. This is the definition of physicality, the scientific definition of physicality. Was a physical item by scientific definition. It they call it displaces place. Nothing displaces space. Space is not displaceable. But because it takes up a certain place, the place allows it to be, and therefore it has a place. It has a presence. Hashem's knowledge of the earth, this is what gives the earth a real presence. Because Hashem's knowledge gives the earth the right of being. That's all it needs. That's all it is. The Hare, okay, I'm going, the line begins as a Horetz. At the end of that line, Hare, thus, you see, from this quote from Tanya, Shahachayus Shalei Hakadur, that the Chayus, we discussed a little bit the influence of here for what Chayus Shalei Hakadur, the Chayus for the earth ball. Who Midiosi is what gives it Chayus is from Hashem's knowledge. We don't call earth as a living entity. We call earth as a blob of physicality. But we have to realize that really it is the Chayus in it that gives it a physical person. What are the Chayus? The fact that it is allowed to be in this space. It's given the right of being. That's its Chayus.
That's its Chayus. We're saying from God's thought, from God's knowledge comes matter. That's our point, right? And hence,
Not the way
hence it has
through,
vitality.
let's just rephrase this slightly. Not from God's thought and God's knowledge. God's thought and God's knowledge. This is what gives it a presence.
This is what gives it presence. It's a manifestation of His thinking.
That's right.
Right, and hence it has vitality because it's rooted in the living God.
The vitality is in the sense that it is there because it has a right of being.
So all that stuff is just sort of that right of being, and it takes up space. That's sort of here and now, but deeper than that is it has real purpose and it's based in His living existence. That
is true. That's true. But the way we understand being, when we say Chayus HaKadur, what's in Chayus? The Kadur Haaretz is not just an inadvertent presence.
Yeah. It's intended.
It's intended. It's Chayus.
Fine, but taking up space isn't a great indicator of Chayus. He just takes up space. That's not a great simon of vitality.
Where do we see? No, I'll explain to you. Where do we see that the word the Chayus in earth?
Where? Well, presumably from its produce.
No, the Chayus of the earth. The Chayus means the Kadur itself.
Oh, the earth per se.
The earth per se.
Doimim, stones,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Where do we see Chayus?
I don't know. His making of it. I don't know.
Okay, so where do we see Chayus? We
Supports
see
everything.
Chayus from
Supports everything.
We see Chayus in the sense that it's a must being. You cannot. It's just a level of nothingness, right? So ignore it, make nothing of it. You can't make nothing of it.
Right. That category is called doimim usually, and it doesn't usually go with chayus. That's my
No. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. This doimim or earth is hachayus. This is what gives it a presence.
Again, what gives it a presence?
This chayus eliki. The knowledge of Hashem knows it.
Right.
Gives it a presence.
Right. So we should point to that rather than it takes up space.
No, I'm explaining. That's true.
Okay.
I'm explaining where do we recognize, where do we see it? We see it in the fact that it is a presence among presences.
And that's an indicator for us that it's true in His thought.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a real presence.
Okay.
It's true. That's not. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
This is a chayas. Fast forward. This is here, and this is here. Now these three items are plain, you said, doimim, physical items. But they are right here on this table. These, Father, they are here, right here on the table. This is what gives them a real presence. And what gives them this right to be on this table? It is your knowledge and our knowledge of this. They belong here. This one that they belong here. This is the highest of their presence here.
Yeah, but ultimately they're there not because they take up space, but because he wants them there.
That's right.
Okay.
And that is the highest of the entire existence of the world. Okay, I'd like to go to the end of that line. The line begins as Ha'aretz Halazu Hagashmis. Hare, that we see from the quote from the Tanya. Hare, Shehachayus Shaloi V'Hakadur Hu. The Chayus, which means the right of being, of the whole Kadur of the full ball of the earth. Who midi also is it's from Hashem's knowledge. This is the highest. How do you say that it has a highest? It has a highest because it actually it takes up certain place and it's not going to be disrupted from its place. Right. And this is not because of its physical makeup. It is because of its significance. Just like this first mirror is here not because of its physical makeup, but because of its significance.
Right. Now, really, there's no clear way to understand. This is a statement of deep seichel. By us, we don't create things by thinking about them, nor move objects around. But by his idea, he makes stuff.
We do at our level.
Yeah,
here.
I guess we plan and move stuff
No,
around.
right here. This is right here. Why is it right here?
But we didn't create that thing by thinking about it, nor can we move it by thinking about it. But here, by his idea,
true. No.
Yeah.
Of course, absolutely not.
Right.
But at this place, in this particular location.
Fine. But by his idea, he's making doimim.
That's right.
making
He's making absolutely
right.
because he's giving it a fundamental presence.
Which we have no real way to. We have a sense of what
We
that
cannot
could mean, but
replicate
we
cannot
cannot
replicate
it. We cannot say much.
We can
about
replicate it at our level.
Fine. Okay.
Our level is we have this table and we can put this on this table.
So by means of his idea, this is what makes the earth and keeps it here. Yeah.
That's right. Not by means of his idea, he makes it so. This idea, this is the word the earth is.
Uh-huh.
Just as in our moshel, this presence over here is what we make of it, why we put it there. We put it there. And we keep it there. So if we don't create Yesh Mi'ayin, he creates Yesh Mi'ayin. הרי שהחי שרי וכדור הוא מידוסי יסבורך. The Idiyosi Yisborech, okay, now he goes deeper in this. Idiyosi Yisborech, Hashem awareness, Hashem's knowledge of everything that was created. Who ma, this idea is representative. This is quite deep. That's representative. The fact that ma should be idiyas atzmoi. It is the fact that idiyas atzmoi, by knowing himself, yideyas hanivroim and not hanivroim. This his knowledge of this of the Kadur Ha'aretz is not an external knowledge. He sees something externally. He is aware of it. No, this knowledge is the very same knowledge. Idiyas atzmoi that the knowledge of himself. That is his knowledge. He knows everything by knowing himself. In other words, it is as real as knowing himself. This is what gives reality to all the creation. The Diyosei Yisbarach, I'm repeating the words inside. The Diyosei Yisbarach, that Hashem's knowledge, who is, what is that knowledge rooted in, what is the significance of that? Mashe b'yidiyas atzmai, the fact that by yidiyas atzmai, knowing himself, yodeya zan nivroim, he knows in nivroim. This is what gives the nivroim a right of being. His presence, his knowing himself, he allows it, he allows the nivroim to be. The Hainu, which is Hayidiyah shebe'atzmos, the idea that is actually contained within the Atzmos itself. That within the Atzmos, there is an idea, there is the union of knowing of creatures, of recognizing it, giving cognizance, giving a right of being for various creatures. This is the idea Satzma. Umizeh, and from this knowledge that comes from idea Satzma, from the true knowledge of knowing himself, idea Satzma, his self-knowledge. This is the real present, real knowledge. This is where the highest knowledge comes from. And all the creatures. In very simple terms, what gives right for anything to exist? It's the Meibus's presence that gives right for anything to exist. Except it.